Yesterday there was a thing going on. I think I've seen it before a few times. Remembering Ethan's song, ETHANSONG, and it's a little difficult to Google because you go Ethan's song and it goes Ethan's songs or songs by guys named Ethan or yeah. But I looked into this case and I think the kid's death was a year ago. No, 6 years ago yesterday. And I'm looking into it. I think I heard about it once before. I never made a video on it. And our gun control lobby friends were talking about the incident. Remember Ethan Strong, safe storage laws, etc., etc., etc. Now, the Supreme Court ruled in 2008, 10 years earlier, that you cannot force everyone to lock their guns up all the time when not in use. Florida has a few laws that say keep your gun out of the wrong hands, but you interpret that from there. What that means, safe or locked room or whatever you have it, or get rid of your kids because okay, whatever. And I think Connecticut, because we're from Connecticut, I think Connecticut did pass a safe storage law or something like that. And is that safe storage law in violation of the Supreme Court? Do they care? Hell no. Now, we're going to talk about the bedroom for a minute, okay? The bedroom is usually a sacred place for everyone, okay? Me, you, everyone has a bedroom, okay? And this is where you do whatever you do. It's where you sleep, it's where you take your clothes off. It's where you store private things, comic book collection, baseball card collection, stamp collection, toy collection, guns, okay? You store things in your bedroom, especially your home defense gun. You at least have that in your bedroom, I think, right? Most of us do. And if you have all your hunting guns in this room or all your sporting guns in that closet, you always have a defensive gun in your bedroom. Those of us that have guns, obviously. But the thing is, the bedroom is a sacred place. Okay, example, if you are going to a young lady's room, even if it's your own daughter, you knock first, okay? If I were at my sister's house, my nieces, I would always knock on their door and say, it's time for dinner, it's time for dessert, it's time for presents, it's time for us to leave. Okay, I always knock on the door and wait until the door opens because you don't know if they're undressed, you don't know if they're with their friends, okay? And I literally don't care if it's your literal fucking daughter. If her bedroom door is closed, you knock before you enter. That's the way it is, especially if she's entertaining a friend. Okay? So you always knock when you go into someone's bedroom, especially if they're there, or especially if it's at night, or especially in the morning, especially if it's a time where they might be naked. Now, when you go to your friend's house, your family member's house, okay, you typically go anywhere except the bedroom. You only go to their bedroom when they specifically ask you to. Even if it's your neighbor or someone whose keys you have. I have their keys so I can bring their mail in when I'm on vacation. I have their keys so I can feed their cat. Okay? You never go into their bedroom unless they specifically tell you to go into the bedroom or unless there's a literal fire in their bedroom. That's it. You just stay the fuck out. Now, when I was younger, my cousins, they would come to my bedroom, we'd play video games, other things, toys, whatever we had, whatever part of the timeline it is. I would go to their houses and play with their toys, their video games, their bedrooms. And obviously, when I got older, I started buying guns. No one comes to my bedroom when I'm not home. My mother is the only person in the world that I allow in my bedroom alone. Because in my bedroom, I have a comic book collection, I have guns, I have knives, I have ammunition, I have credit cards, I have things that I don't want tampered with. And she is the only person in the world that I trust to come in here, literally. And if I'm on vacation and my aunt is over here, I literally close the bedroom door and tell her, do not go in there. This is my godmother. This is my little fucking aunt. And I still say keep out of my bedroom. Because there's too much at stake. I have things that I don't want touched here. Period. Okay? My cousin, who's now a colonel, his kids were younger. He would come over to visit. Now he has more guns than I do. Obviously, he's a colonel, plus he's a New York State trooper. He has more guns than I do. His kids been on guns their whole life. But when they were little, they would come over to visit, and it would be his wife and his 2 kids, son and daughter. And I would close the bedroom door, and I would put all my guns on the top of that bookcase behind me, which is about 7 feet off the ground. And I would close the door, and they were not allowed in the room. And there was always someone with them to make sure they didn't come in the room. Okay, they were responsible, but it's still an incident, an issue. Now you had a guy, this guy Ethan Song, he's 15 years old. He's at his friend's father's house. He goes into the bedroom. Now, is he allowed in the house? Well, I imagine if it's his best friend, I imagine his father, it's okay, your best friend can come over the house. It's okay, best friends go over people's houses. Okay? He goes over to the friend's house, goes into the father's bedroom. Now, did the father tell you to go in his bedroom? I don't think so. He opens a drawer. He rummages through clothing. Is he looking to steal something? I don't know. He finds a Tupperware box with 3 handguns in it. A big Tupperware box, right? And the Tupperware box is locked. How? Did they drill a hole in and put a lock threaded through? And I don't know, but the Tupperware box is locked, or the guns have a trigger lock, but somehow there's a lock. And right next to the guns is the fucking key. I know what you're thinking. Snow White, when they leave work at the end of the day, they close the door to their closet with all the diamonds in it, like $1 billion worth of fucking diamonds, and they lock the door and they put the key right next to the door. I know you're thinking that's funny, but it's true. This guy was not exactly smart. You know, you would think that have a combination safe or a combination box or a fingerprint safe, or at most take the key to the locks and put them on your necklace, wear around your neck. You could actually take a lock for a gun case, put on your necklace like I have here. I don't have it, but you know what I mean. And put on you that way when you're in the shower, when you're in bed, when you go out. The key is always with you. But he has the fucking key right there in the drawer. And the kid takes the keys, matches which key goes to which gun or whatever, or he opens the lock, takes the gun out, opens it up. Now revolvers have what? A 10 or 12 pound trigger pull? Those of us that shoot Smith, which is the most common revolver in the world, know it has about a 12 pound trigger pull. Which means you gotta take it and pull like this really hard. I can't even pull the trigger on my revolver with my bad hand. I can shoot all my other guns except my revolver because the trigger's so tight. And he takes the gun, and I don't know if he's fumbling it, maybe sets it to single action. I don't know what model it was a single action only or double action only or double single, but he somehow, I feel like fucking Alec Baldwin now. I didn't touch the trigger, yeah. He has the gun at his chest, and he pulls the trigger. And he dies. Now, was he the stupidest kid in the world? Or was it a suicide? It looks to me like it was a suicide. I never knew him. I never knew anything about him. I don't know. You know, who the fuck knows what goes on behind closed doors? Who knows what happens in people's minds? But this looks like a suicide to me, my friends. You actually open a drawer, look at the clothing. Maybe his friend told him where the gun was, who knows. Take the box out, open the box, take the key out, unlock the gun, take the gun, put it to your chest, and pull the trigger. And I've seen incidences where you had like a parent with a gun loaded under the bed and a 3-year-old picked it up and pulled the trigger. I've seen that. I've seen a couple of those cases with that. Because it's a fucking 3-year-old kid. They don't know any better. But when you're 15, you would think you'd have at least some mindset. So either he literally was fucking with the gun, put his finger in the trigger, and pulled real hard while he was doing this with it, twisting it, turning it, spinning it, flipping it, or it was a literal suicide attempt. And by definition, the guns were locked up, even though the key was right there. Now, the family sued. And they got $1 million, and then the minute they got the $1 million, they said it wasn't about the money. Here's the problem. I personally am not so fucking dumb to have a gun locked, have the key right next to the gun. Like if I had a gun, I only had one gun. If I had a kid over the house, for whatever reason, if I remember there was a kid over the house, I would take the gun, lock the box, and put the key in my pocket. Okay, I've done that before. When I had, and the cousins were little, or the cousins' kids were little, or the next generation was little. It was an issue back then, 2009, 10, stuff like that. So at one point, the father's not exactly that smart. The friend's father. Okay, he was a little bit of a stupid idiot himself. But it looks like a suicide attempt, which was very successful, by the way. Now, I don't think the guy should have been sued. Yes, he's stupid. And the $1 million is probably coming from the homeowners association or the homeowners insurance. Okay? He doesn't have $1 million in his house. He has $1 million insurance probably. But, I mean, and they want any excuse to find out. I had an idiot today tell me, I was like, is he that stupid or is it a suicide attempt? And someone said he was a child. And I'm like, he's 15, not 2. Now, I had a friend of mine from high school a long time ago. He was killed in a car accident 1 month and 20 days after graduation. And he just got his license 11 days earlier. He didn't have his license in high school. He got his license that October 4th, or August 4th, I think. August 4th. And he borrowed his father's car to go to the beach, to go to Jones Beach, which is on Long Island. Now, most people that drive, we don't think you should be driving on major highways or across bridges or tunnels until you've been driving steady about 2 years. Okay, you shouldn't be 11 days driving and get in the car and go. You need a lot more experience than 11 days of having a license. But he borrows his father's car. His father didn't want him to do it. His mother talked the father into it. It was a man who passed away used to bowl with his mother. So it was, and he's in the car. He's got 2 girls in the car, one in the front seat, one in the back seat. And there's another guy following them. These 2 girls from another town over, we don't know them. They're actually 16, he's 18, they're 16. Other friend is following them. Why they're not all in the same car, I don't know. They were allegedly in a drag race. The other kid was never punished, so I don't know, probably not. But he was going over 100 miles an hour on the parkway, which is about 45 miles an hour over the speed limit. He gets off the exit, goes into the parking lot, loses control, does a 360 spin, bus shelters. A bus shelter, I assume you know what a bus shelter is. If you don't, a bus shelter is a metal frame structure that has three walls, Two on the side, one in the back. Front is open and a roof. It's mostly when it's really hot out. If it's 95 degrees, you can stand in the bus shelter and be out of the sun directly, or if it's raining, or if it's snowing, which are all problems in our part of the woods. Two custodians are supposed to be painting that bus shelter, but by the grace of God, they're painting a different bus shelter, like right next to that one. There's a couple of different bus shelters, a couple of different bus lines that go to this beach. And by the grace of God, no one is at that bus shelter waiting for a bus. Or at that bus shelter tying their shoelace. Or at that bus shelter making a phone call or whatever reason. And the custodian that saw it was on the news. He pulled out his knife and used his knife to illustrate what he saw. The car spun like that. It crashed into the bus shelter, wrapped around the bus shelter, exploded. Two in the front went through the front windshield. The girl in the back went out wherever she went out of. She burned to a crisp. The girl in the front was nearly paralyzed, going head first with a fucking windshield. He dies. We bury him. The next day, they wake up from their comas. Now, me and my friends, we were praying to God that there was a problem with the car, and maybe he hit the gas and the car went to 100 miles an hour. Because many years ago, I think it was Audi. I'm talking about when I was a little baby. Audi had a problem where if you tapped the gas, you went flying really fast. And they had a major problem, major lawsuit. A couple of guys got killed. Okay? And there have been problems with cars in the past where this car is defective for the brake, or this car is defective for the accelerator, or this airbag fails, or this gas tank is too close to the bumper, and when you're in it explodes. That has to be addressed. Yeah. But we're praying to God that's the case. He dies, buried. The next day the girls come out of their comas. And the girls are saying, we begged him to stop. He wouldn't stop. We were screaming bloody murder. We were crying. He would not stop. And there was a big lawsuit with the families. I don't know the results of that. It was my business anyway. And it took me a long time to come to grips with that. Because this is my friend, who I had known since 7th grade. And he nearly got 2 girls killed. To save nothing for anyone else that might have been in the way. It was a fucking miracle. He didn't kill 100 people that day. Because between the bus shelter, we're having people in and out of it, between guys walking in and out of the parking lot back and forth to their cars for whatever reason, get this out of the car, it's time for us to go, we're just getting here, okay? A beach parking lot is not exactly a safe place for doing a fucking donut at 100 miles an hour. He might have lost control and then spun out. I think personally, driving now for next month I'll be driving I got my permit 26 months ago. No, I got my permit 26 years ago in April. And I got my driver's license 25 years ago last month. So I've been driving a couple of years now. And being over 40, driving over 25 years, I think now he might have jammed the brake out of panic and spun uncontrollably. But it was hard for us to accept. And now you have this kid Ethan Song who does all this shit, blah blah blah, step 1 through 10, and kills himself. And you gotta accept the terms. Maybe he was suicidal. He's either suicidal or he's the stupidest person in the fucking world. And maybe that's the case. It's hard. I imagine it's hard for the family. But, you're suing someone for $1 million because your son committed suicide. That doesn't seem right to me. Now, the families that sued my friend's family, they sued their insurance company, obviously. And they had, your son died. We're sorry about that. But at the same token, your son almost got our kids killed. And there were a lot of adults, especially. Well, I was an adult. I was 18, but there were a lot of older adults. Because, I mean, when this happened, I live in a pretty big county, a pretty well densely populated county, and this happened a few towns over for me. I mean, he was from our town, the girls from another town over, and it happened down Long Island. But believe me when I tell you, when this happened, every other person knew someone. I mean, I knew her. That's my friend's daughter. I mean, every single time I turned around, I ran into someone that knew one of the girls. It was fucking hilarious. And a lot of the older adults, the parents, the grandparents, aunts, the uncles, the people that themselves, even if they weren't in that family, even if they didn't know that family, they had their own grandkids, their own kids, their own nieces and nephews. They're in their 50s. Okay, they're telling us, that stupid fucking kid, and I'm like, that's my friend. But when you get older and look back on it, you're like, man, he was fucking crazy. And you gotta accept facts. And suing for $1 million and lobbying for another law may not be the answer. Maybe you didn't teach your kid any responsibility. Because the concept for me to go to someone else's house, I'm 15 years old or younger, and I'm going to someone else's house, and I'm rummaging through an adult man's desk drawer, drawer, without his direct permission. Okay. My uncles, my aunts, okay, you never, ever, ever went in someone's drawer without their permission. Never. Even when I would be in my cousin's rooms playing the video games. Even when they're in my room playing my video games, you don't go in their fucking drawers. You just don't do it. And you're a kid going in an adult guy's drawer and rummaging through his shit. That's not what we do as 15-year-olds. I don't do that now. And there were several adults that I knew for a fact that had fucking guns in the house. Not a lot, but a couple. Actually, my family, even though they're staunch conservatives, we really weren't big on guns until me. My brother-in-law, who's 18 years older than me, got into guns because of me. Okay. My niece's now husband, my nephew-in-law, he got into guns recently. And how about this? When I went over my Christmas of 22, my niece and my future nephew-in-law went to their new condo. Okay, this fucking kid is marrying my niece. He's 13 years my junior. I still didn't touch his gun until he said so. He calls me fucking uncle. Okay? He had to ask permission to marry my niece. And yet, I don't touch his gun without his permission. Because you don't fucking do it. Even today, as a grown adult, I'm at the range. Can I see your gun? Sure. I never, ever, ever touch another guy's gun unless he says so, period. And the only exception for that is if you're the range officer and a gun is laying around with the action locked. Okay? You just don't fucking do it. When I was taking my safety class, they have dummy guns, okay? 1911 and a Smith Magnum. The dummy gun is a dummy gun because it's anatomically correct, but it has no firing pin for the revolver and no feed ram for the semi-auto. So you can't load it. They're used for demonstration purposes. Okay, cool. I didn't touch that until the fucking old man said I could. The instructor, the old man, God rest his soul. Okay, so that's what's telling me that this is a suicide. This is a suicide, not a dumb kid. All right. And maybe you gotta come. Maybe the parents gotta sit down and say, "Listen, did we miss a sign? Was he depressed? Because suicide is very, very common among kids. Age like 12 to 20, they commit suicide a lot. And it's very scary." Okay, but asking for another law to be written and asking for someone to give you money is not going to solve the problem. Was your son suicidal? Ask yourself that question. Thank you.